Welcome back. All right, so we're going to talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins as we continue to roll through these season previews. The Pittsburgh Penguins, of course, winning the Stanley Cup in 2016, 2017. However, since 2020, playoff wins have been difficult. In fact, since 2019, wins in the playoffs have been difficult. And over the last two seasons, playoffs have been difficult. They've missed the playoffs 2 years in a row. It definitely looks like the plan is to get back to the playoffs this season and figure out what that's going to look like and how that's going to work. But that definitely seems to be the plan. We'll see how it turns out for them. So looking back 10 years, so looking back to 2014, 2015, right up until now, their leading scorer is Sidney Crosby, because who else would it be? 722 games played, 318 goals, 509 assists, 827 points. Very, very reliable scoring from Sidney Crosby, no matter what age he is. Evgeny Malkin, 627 games, 258 goals, 406 assists, 662 points. Chris Letang, 665 games played, 111 goals, 400 assists, 511 points. Jake Guentzel, 503 games played, 219 goals, 247 assists, 466 points. Brian Rust, 567 games played, 172 goals, 200 assists, 372 points. Phil Kessel, 328 games played, 110 goals, 193 assists, 303 points. Patrick Hornqvist, 407 games played, 132 goals, 132 assists, 264 points. Brian Dumoulin, 540 games played, 19 goals, 119 assists, 138 points. Marcus Pettersson, 395 games, 13 goals, 110 assists, 123 points. It takes me aback a bit that the separation between Hornqvist and Dumoulin going from 264 to 138. And then 10th on the list is Justin Schultz. So it's three defensemen in a row, 234 games, 22 goals, 91 assists, 113 points. And for the record, Rickard Rakell just barely missed. He was 3 points behind Schultz. Tristan Jarry has the most wins over the last 10 years, a record of 136, 85, and 25. Matt Murray's second, 117, 53, and 19. Marc-Andre Fleury's third, 87, 47, and 22. Casey DeSmith's next at 58, 44, and 15. And Alex Nedeljkovic, only playing 1 year, he's in the top five, 18, 7, and 7, and he's back for more of the season. So over the last 5 seasons, if you look at their numbers, they've been good, not great, right? So points percentage of 600, that's 12th in the league over the last 5 years. Their 3.23 goals scored per game is 10th. Their 2.92 goals against per game is 11th. 19.9% power play is 19th. The 80.8% penalty kill is 9th. So the penalty kill numbers have been generally good, and they were pretty good this year as well, but their overall numbers do dip. 537 points percentage is 19th. So it's close enough that you can see that playoff line, but it's still below the playoff line. 3.09 goals scored per game, that's 18th in the NHL this past season. 3.02 goals against per game is 13th. The power play, woeful. This has to be fixed this season. 15.3% is 30th. And as every announcer in the NHL said all season, how, with the All-Stars and the Hall of Famers this team has, do you have a power play that struggles that badly? Their penalty kill much better at 80.7%, which was 11th overall. If they can fix that power play and get some more goals, they could very well find themselves above the playoff line. And this is where the trick comes in. If you're the general manager, you're trying to figure out how to make that happen, and it's easier said than done. So their top 10 scorers this year, of course, Crosby leads the way. 82 games, 42 goals, 52 assists, 94 points. Malkin second, 82 games, 27 goals, 40 assists, 67 points. I've talked about how Malkin to me has kind of lost a step. I've seen people saying he didn't have very good line mates. Either way, the scoring is not what it was. And at this stage, at this age, it is unlikely the Malkin's going to get back into like that 90-point range, right? Which they need. The other thing to keep in mind here is both Crosby and Malkin played all 82 games this past season. That's highly unlikely to happen again. So there's definitely some issues here that could crop up, and we'll see how it all goes. Karlsson played all 82 games as well, had 11 goals, 45 assists, 56 points. Brian Rust, 62 games played, 28 goals, 28 assists, 56 points. So when Rust's in the lineup, he's very productive. Jake Guentzel at the time of the trade, 50 games, 22 goals, 30 assists, 52 points, and they're going to miss him, right? There's no way around it. Chris Letang, 82 games, 10 goals, 41 assists, 51 points. Riley Smith in his 1 year in Pittsburgh, 76 games, 13 goals, 27 assists, 40 points. Rickard Rakell, 70 games, 15 goals, 22 assists, 37 points. Drew O'Connor, 79 games, 16 goals, 17 assists, 33 points. And Lars Eller rounds out the top 10, 82 games, 15 goals, 16 assists, 31 points. A lot of veterans here. They're going to be a year older. It is going to get more difficult, you would think, for these older players to be able to get close to the playoffs and maybe end up in it, but we'll see. Their top 2 goaltenders this past year, 19, 25, and 5 record for Jarry, 903 save percentage, but 6 shutouts. When Jarry's good, he's very good. When he's bad, well, Pittsburgh fans will tell you. Nedeljkovic, 18, 7, and 7, as mentioned over here, 902 save percentage, 1 shutout. So the rookie watch, I put 2 guys up there. Rutger McGroarty, of course, is going to get a lot of attention. But Sam Poulin may very well step into the lineup. If either of them show some kind of ability to produce goals early in the season, or especially during the preseason to earn a job in the regular season, could be interesting pickups right there. So if you're doing fantasy, McGroarty might be one if you're in a keeper league. But for this season, we'll see what line he ends up on. So Rickard Rakell, Sidney Crosby, Brian Rust, likely to be the top line. And then it's a guessing game because you've got Neil Benstrom, you've got Vasily Ponomariev right there, and Anthony Beauvillier's been signed. There's a lot of guys who could end up on almost any line. And I say this because the second line, you have Michael Bunting, Evgeny Malkin, maybe Cody Glass ends up there, maybe Rutger McGroarty ends up there. Nieto's been injured, so, right? But Nieto's ideally a 4th liner anyways. And then on that 3rd line, Drew O'Connor, Kevin Hayes, who's looking to bounce back after a down year in St. Louis. And again, either Rutger McGroarty or Cody Glass. And then on that 4th line, you'd have Blake Lizotte, Lars Eller, and Noel Acciari. So, again, they're going to have to cobble together some offense here. Odds are the wingers for Malkin aren't going to be very productive unless McGroarty has a great rookie season, right? And again, when you get into the extras, Matt Nieto, who's injured, Emil Benstrom, Vasily Ponomariev, Yuna Kapanen, Anthony Beauvillier, Jonathan Gruden. Jesse Puljujarvi is still there, so if Puljujarvi can find his offensive game, but that's the question mark. Valtteri Puustinen, who is a hard worker, doesn't provide a ton of offense, and Samuel Poulin, as mentioned before, maybe he slots into one of these lines. I don't think Cody Glass is going to end up far up the lineup. I don't know if Cody Glass is going to be in the top 4 lines. We'll see how it all turns out. On the blue line, Marcus, it's really hard to figure out who's going to be on the wings for Pittsburgh this year. On the blue line, Marcus Pettersson, Erik Karlsson, we know they're going to be good. Ryan Graves, Chris Letang, Matt Grzelcyk, and Sebastian Aho. I still miss Matt Grzelcyk in Boston, but hey, there's that. And then the extras, you have John Ludwig, Ryan Shea, Mac Hollowell, who could be a steal for them coming out of Toronto, and obviously Kyle Dubas would know his game. Jack St. Ivany, and Owen Pickering is there too. So Owen Pickering, a young player, I believe he was a first-round draft pick, and so maybe he gets a look during the preseason, but in all likelihood, it'll be 6 veterans there. In net, Tristan Jarry, Alex Nedeljkovic, and then your extras, you've got Joel Blomqvist and Philip Larson as the 2 most likely you might get called up, but in all likelihood, Jarry and Nedeljkovic, the tandem, should play all the games. Cap space, there isn't any. $874,233. Pittsburgh right up against the cap, so they're not going to be able to make improvements unless they can move money out when they bring money in. And their schedule is tough to start out. They have 7 out of 12 on the road in October. In November, 9 out of 14 at home. So if they can survive October with a good record, November should work out in their favor. In February, they have 2 at home, 2 away, and then we have the Four Nations Cup. Following that, there's 2 home, 1 away, and then 1 at home. And in April, 4 out of 7 games are on the road. So they're going to have a good road record in both October and April. If they can pull that off and make home ice mean something this year, they absolutely could end up above that playoff line. Not that the channel thinks they're going to get there necessarily. So first off, the Stanley Cup odds are long odds for Pittsburgh, plus 5,000, which has to be the longest odds I've seen for Pittsburgh when it comes to a Stanley Cup. I would say going back to like 2009, I think their odds would have been better than that. So it tells you people really aren't buying into the idea that Pittsburgh's going to bounce back and end up being a Stanley Cup contender. 2% of the channel thinks they're going to finish first or second. So those are hardcore Pittsburgh fans or just people messing around. Or people that think that they're capable of jumping up to the top of the division. And hey, if you're right, then you can come back and go, I was one of the 2%. 16% say third or fourth. Then 66%, the lion's share of the voting, say fifth or sixth. And 16% of the votes say seventh or eighth, with a little over 3,900 votes counted at the time that I am recording this. So the Pittsburgh Penguins, a team that really would like to have one last Stanley Cup run with Crosby, Malkin, Letang. Time is definitely short for this crew, but we have seen before where a team will go on that last run. One that just comes to mind is, of course, New Jersey in 2012. They go on that run to the final, trying to get Marty Brodeur that fourth cup ring. The Pittsburgh Penguins are going to need that same kind of energy, trying to get a fourth cup ring for Crosby, for Malkin, and for Letang. I don't know if they can get there, so I ask you the question. Can the Pittsburgh Penguins this coming season turn back the clock a bit, end up in a playoff spot, and maybe be dangerous come playoff time for the first time since 2018, which was the last time they won a round? Or is this a team that needs to go through some sort of rebuild, and soon? I've been saying for the last year and a half that a rebuild, I think, would make a lot of sense for Pittsburgh, but they don't seem to have an interest in that, and so we'll see how it turns out. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. And since I pre-recorded the Carolina and Pittsburgh ones on Wednesday night to post on Thursday, because we're going out on Thursday, I really hope there's no major movement for Carolina or Pittsburgh. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. I will talk to you again soon.